Hi, gang. It's Patrick.
And Ryan.
And Kale.
And JT.
Coming up on today's episode, it's a gay pride parade as all four hosts interview special guest Chris from Wishful Thinking, who shares all the tea you need to know about planning your Disney trip this year. As always, we close out the show with some quick D. All that and more on today's episode of Gays Do the D.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Tweedles, are you ready for complete chaos? It's happening again. All four hosts are here. Kale, myself, JT, and Ryan. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
We're back.
Hey.
What an enthusiastic hello. Great. We're here again. Chins up, ladies. We're going to do this.
Yeah.
We're going to get through a recording together. No one's going to cry. Well, someone might cry. I don't know.
I've already
Kale's
cried.
here. Someone usually, yeah.
Yeah. I'm working through a margarita right now, so there might be some tears at some point.
Ooh. I like it. You're going to be a country song pretty soon. Tears in your margarita.
It is in a mason jar, so I am on brand.
Oh, you're very Southern.
Yes.
I do declare.
Loving it.
I do declare.
Loving it. Well, we have a jam-packed episode, everybody, as per usual, but we have a very special guest. If you've already heard the intro, obviously you haven't skipped ahead, but Chris from Wishful Thinking is here. We're going to talk all about what's going on in the Disney parks, but before that, we have an extensive amount of banter to get through before then. We are going to, in keeping with not driving everyone insane and keeping it down to maybe just under 3 hours of an episode, we're cutting the news because Chris is going to give us all the news about what's going on in the Disney parks today. But before we get into everything else, including a Figment popcorn bucket giveaway, let's do an around the room, you guys. Let's do a mental health check. How's everyone doing right now?
It's here. My mental health is here. Check.
It's present.
I do have a mind.
Right.
Okay. Good chat, everyone.
Yeah.
Great.
No.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thanks so much. That's a wrap for Gays Do the D. No, okay, let's start with JT. JT, how are you? What's going on? What's up?
Are we doing a scale? Is this like on a scale of 1 to 10, or are we just
Choose your own adventure, JT.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about a 6.85?
I feel that.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's solid.
I mean, I literally.
I don't know. Is it okay, JT?
I mean, I don't know. See, we've already started crying. No, I came screeching in for this recording from work because it has been a very long week. But you know what? Can I give a praise report?
Please do.
I went to Washington, D.C. for the very first time last weekend, and non-Disney related, I got to see Stephanie J. Block and my future husband, Derek Klena, in Sunset Boulevard at the Kennedy Center. And it was everything.
Yeah. Yes, very jealous.
Oh, I love that. But if you ever bring up something that is not Disney related again, you're out, JT.
I will be singing Norma Desmond's 2 big solo numbers later in the show today. So
fantastic. Stay tuned for some quick D. Stay tuned. Ryan, how are you doing? Checking in on Ryan.
I'm doing good. For some reason, mysteriously, my lights just turned off in my office. Lane is not home. And fun fact, every time that Lane leaves my house, weird, spooky things happen with the lights in our house. I don't know what the deal is, but I think our house is haunted. But me, myself, and my personal mental health, not the ghost, I'm hanging in there. My intention right now is to protect my peace. That's my intention.
Ooh, I like that.
Spicy. I love that.
PMP.
Okay.
Yep. We are protecting our peace this fiscal quarter.
We'll have the quarterly results coming at you in April for an update.
Yeah,
I know.
my performance readout, I'll let y'all know how it goes.
No, if I see another document that says FY24, I might bang my head.
God.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, how are you, Kale?
So I'm doing really well. I've picked up a new trick, which is yeah. It's really fun. I didn't know I could do it, but occasionally when I know that Lane is not at home, I will turn Ryan's lights off with my mind. And I just
believe that.
I just sort of like imagine like what's happening, and then when I feel like it's time, I'll turn them back on. And then, but yeah, I'm doing good. So I'd say it's good to say, it's probably okay to say I'm doing the best.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I see
Fantastic.
it. Yeah.
I just pictured you, Kale, as the hag in Snow White.
You could have just stopped. You hag.
Yeah.
when she's like giggling as she's like going down in the little the little trapdoor as you turn
Yes.
off Ryan's lights.
Yes, that's me.
I'm also picturing Kale as a hag.
Because you can
Different
see
reasons.
me, right?
It improves my mental health.
I don't mean I'm using my imagination. I'm just
Yeah.
looking at Kale right now and seeing a hag on Zoom.
Okay.
Just
Patrick, how are
Amazing.
you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for asking. I'm good. I'm also hanging in there along with Ryan. You know, I think I talked to a couple of you about this, but like something has been hitting me lately, and I looked it up, and it's a real thing. There's a real thing that it's called, like, it's not, there's no title for it, but there's like a post-marathon depression that a lot of people go through.
Yeah.
And boy, it delayed hit me, but it's hitting me, or was hitting me a couple weeks ago. I feel like I'm crawling out of it now, but boy, that is a real thing. Take care of yourselves, everybody. Like, you don't always see the signs coming until you're in the accident itself, but reach out for some help if you need it, because boy, was it a bumpy couple of weeks. But I am on the bright side of it now. I'm taking care of myself, mental health, drinking my tea right now, and taking care of me.
Absolutely. Drinking my tea and taking care of me, you better.
Yes,
Y'all,
drinking my tea and messing with Ryan's lights.
That's right. Well, thank you for taking the time to do it, everybody. I like that these little mental health check-ins, I think, are
Yes.
something we need to start doing more
Yes.
often. Love it. Well, let's keep the party going, because we have 2 new Patreon members to celebrate, everybody. That was me, not Kale. Just everyone knows that.
No, I
didn't
don't
need to
do
say
it anymore. I refuse. There's a hate mail that comes my way.
I love it. We are celebrating and welcoming to the family Emma and Jonathan, who both recently joined our Patreon family. Thank you both for joining us. Those of you who don't know, we, of course, do have a Patreon membership here at Gays Do the D. If you want to, you can head on over to gaysdothed.com and click on the donate button, where you'll be directed to our Patreon page, where, say it with me, everybody, for as little as $1 reoccurring a month, you too can join our Patreon family, which gets you a little extra love from Gays Do the D, the host here at Gays Do the D. You get extra episodes called Gays Do the D Raw and Uncut. You get entered into special giveaways that are only for our Patreon members. And we had some really fun things coming up this year that are exclusive to our Patreon members, and some things that are for everybody, the general public. But we've been saying it for a very long time, and we actually mean it this time. We're putting our money where our mouth is. Is that the expression? I don't know the expression anymore.
Sure.
But
Yeah, why not?
we've got a few fun announcements to make on this episode, and why not do one of them right now? Kale, you have something to announce that's coming up very soon for our Patreon members only.
Yes, I do. Coming soon, we are going to be having Patreon exclusive GDTD watch parties. That was okay. There could have. All right. Okay. Well, never mind. Guess we were, but.
I love to watch.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wait.
Hold on. No, I find it extremely necessary to go back now and say movie watching parties. Okay. So. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Okay. So into some Tweedle feedback.
No. I think we're No, that's not how it works on Gaze to the Decal.
Okay.
Please explain to us what the watch party actually is now that JT has ruined it for everyone.
Right.
Or have I made it better?
Yeah. You have made it better. So the watch parties will take place on Saturdays at 2 p.m. That's what I've decided right now. And because you're all hearing it, Patrick can't fight it.
It's a matinee.
Yes, Saturdays at 2 p.m. And we'll be picking some sort of, I guess, back of the closet Disney films, so to speak. Ones that you haven't seen in a long time. Ones that we can dress up, have fun, really kiki it out.
With gay subtext.
I love it.
Gay subtext all the way.
So High School Musical too.
No,
Bet on it.
no. We said subtext. Okay. There's nothing subtle about the homosexuality of High School Musical.
That's true. That's true.
Fair. And to be very clear, we don't mean every Saturday at 2 p.m. unless Kale
No.
really wants to be invested in that.
No. Quarterly.
Great.
Quarterly.
Great. Select Saturdays.
One Saturday. Yes. There we will have a 2 p.m. viewing party via Zoom.
Fantastic. So watch your inboxes, Patreon members out there for those invitations. I'm very excited about this.
I'm thrilled.
Anyone
I'm
else?
thrilled.
Okay, great.
Oh, yes. I'm super pumped.
I kind of wish we'd cut it. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
How do I
just
how do I make someone leave from Zoom? Where's that button? JK. Well, thank you, Kale, and all Patreon members. Watch out for that. Watch out for the watch party. Anyone who's not a Patreon member, that's another reason to join our family. Right. And we should also mention all of the money that we collect from Patreon goes directly back into the podcast for fun things like watch parties, for giveaways, and sometimes we just donate it to a cause that we feel is worthy of our attention at the time.
Like our therapist.
If you're not like our therapist, that does go directly into the podcast for sure. You're hearing the results right now, and maybe they're not doing a great job at it. But nonetheless, thank you to all of our Patreon members, and thank you to those who sent us some feedback from our last episode. Ryan, would you like to read the feedback from last week's episode?
Sure. I may not get this screen name correctly or this username correctly, but hi Bidonde.
Ooh,
We're going to go with
That's exactly correct.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Hi Bidonde said, first, thanks to Patrick for a great D23 DLDCA trip report from last fall. I listened to it again last night while packing for my trip to Anaheim. My friend who was supposed to come got in at her house in Dallas, thankfully because she had also tested positive for the flu this morning, but I flew in from Nashville and am so excited to do Disneyland After Dark Sweethearts Night Tonight solo. Fingers crossed that face character Buzz will be there. Hashtag wreck me Space Ranger Daddy.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Dante.
I should start using that hashtag for my Instagram.
I should. Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that your Instagram handle almost?
Yeah, basically. Maybe I should update it to Wreck Me Space Ranger Daddy instead.
And shout out to a Nashville Tweedle.
Yeah,
there you go.
615 in the house.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that feedback, and you're welcome for that trip report. It was a great trip report, wasn't it? If I do say so myself. And I do. I'm the only one saying it. No one else is joining me on that. Fantastic.
It was a delight.
It was amazing. I loved it.
Thanks so much.
Protect your peace, Patrick.
I am, but it's like PIECE instead. Or did I spell that wrong? Is it EI or IE? I before E except F or C. Okay, I got it right. All right, we got to move on. Well, Ryan, let's stick with you for a few more seconds. You just had an amazing trip to Disney World. Well, you live there, basically at Disney World, but you have been one of the first people ever to ride Tron Light Cycle Run.
Wow. Can I just say what a moment? So I have some friends who are Imagineers, and so I was really lucky to get invited to the Imagineering previews for Tron. So many thoughts. First of all, I got to ride it both at sunset and at night. I highly recommend both of those settings. Definitely try to kind of skip the noon crowd. If you go at sunset or at night, whenever it opens, that's like prime time. It's absolutely gorgeous. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who is really avid about not watching queue videos or not watching any videos about the ride before they get on it. I will say if you are a big fan of the Tron series, you're going to be highly, highly just impressed with the way that they integrated it into the park. I hadn't personally watched Tron until after I had rode the ride. So I watched the Tron Legacy 2010 remake. And then I was like, oh, this ride makes sense. And so that was something. If you haven't watched Tron, maybe go watch it before you get on the ride. She is here for a good time, not a long time. She's short, but she's worth it. And all of the technology that they integrated, it is so cool. And a lot of that technology is showcased best at night. So I really want to drive in there, go at night. It'll just completely change the whole entire experience.
I'm so excited. It's taking everything in my system not to watch the ride-throughs of it, because I'm just like, I want to like let it be a surprise when I'm on it for the first time. But yeah, I can't wait.
Don't do it. And I will say the pictures that have come out thus far is everything that happens for only one tiny segment of the ride. There is so much more that is experienced that people have not taken video of. So I will also say that as well.
I'm super excited. And I mean, can we just stop for a second? Because Ryan sort of like just subtly weaved it into his story that he's friends with Imagineers. Ryan, did you want to unpack that, comment on that?
Oh, my classified informants have told me that if I were to ever spill, that the message would self-destruct within 10 seconds. So I'm going to keep that a secret.
Okay. Much like this podcast, it will self-destruct.
What if you hate Tron? Will those that hate Tron enjoy the ride as well?
I think so, because I'm sure that most people on the call, or I'm sorry, not most people on the call, most people on the pod listening to the episode are big theme park enthusiasts as is. So I will also say, if you love Cosmic Rewind, if you love Hagrid's at Universal Studios, then you're in for a treat, because it is the perfect combination of both of those rides, I feel like.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Cool. I feel like I can say that without giving away anything.
Yeah.
No, I know it. No. I know it completely now. I wish you would have backed up a tiny bit.
Yeah, sorry, Kale. That's what you get for turning off my lights.
Do Jeff Bridges or Garrett Hedlund make appearances, or can you not say?
I cannot say.
Don't tell us. Don't tell us.
Nope. Okay, stop asking. Everybody, we're moving on. We're moving on before JT ruins the ride for everybody.
Sorry for being a journalist.
Same, but for real. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that recap of the ride, Ryan. And I don't know how to say this without it sounding dirty, but speaking of riding, Ryan, you are also, you are, as many of our Tweedles know, and if you don't know now, you're going to know, are a spin instructor. And part of your job is to curate some amazing soundtracks, right, to the rides that you give. I've heard some of them. They are outstanding and fantastic. And so I thought, let's have Ryan create for our Tweedles every once in a while, maybe when he's feeling it in the moment, some Disney workout mixes. So Ryan, are you up to the task?
I am definitely up to the task. For those who are in Orlando as listeners and came to my Disney Adults Are A-OK ride way back in August, you already know that I love EDM music, and I also love any type of music that's from either the parks or the movies. And luckily on Spotify, if y'all didn't know this, there are a ton of artists out there that have done EDM remixes and covers of a lot of your favorite features, such as the Disneylanders, just to mention one of the amazing artists that does everything from really hard pumping like EDM in your face all the way to lo-fi soundtracks from the Haunted Mansion all the way to Toy Story and everything in between. So I'm very excited to share with y'all my Disney Adults Are A-OK playlist, which will be available to you in the show notes.
Love it.
That's right. That's right. They are coming out very shortly, and that'll be available to all of our listeners. So that is not a Patreon exclusive. This is for everybody who listens to the show or follows us on Instagram. And speaking of those who follow us on Instagram, let's move on to I'm celebrating this week. Kale, do you want to kick us off?
I sure will. So at Bo M. Preston, my husband, 3 kids, and I are going to Disneyland for their first time as a family.
Aw,
Amazing.
I love first trips. Yeah.
Delightful.
Yes. Let us know how you like it.
Oh, yes, please. Report back.
Yes.
What if they're like, not for me, Disneyland, not so much.
Right.
Not into it.
Right.
I have a follow-up question
but-
for Bo. I would love to know, Bo, if you are an avid Disney Worlder, I would love to know your notes between Disneyland versus Disney World, because that's always a very hot topic.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. JT,
Yes.
you want to keep the celebrations going?
Nothing would give me greater pleasure. At Irving Vergen is celebrating my 34th birthday. Happy birthday, Irving.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday.
Patreon member.
Nice.
Patreon
You better,
member.
Irving.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Brian, keep the party going.
Sure, at Sean Cruz, it's my birthday, finally 21 for the 14th time. First off, I'm obsessed with Sean, so I'm so glad that I got to read his
Yes.
birthday shout out. Happy birthday, Sean. I love you so much. You bring so much joy.
Aw, happy birthday, Sean. He
Happy
does
birthday,
bring
Sean.
A lot
Happy
of joy.
birthday.
And then finally, another birthday to celebrate at Mrs. Mouse 61, my daughter's 25th and my son's 23rd birthdays. Follow-up question there, same day or just in the same week? We need to know.
Yeah, we need
to know these
context.
things.
Yes.
Happy birthday,
Yeah.
daughter mouse,
Mrs. Mouse.
and son mouse.
That's right. But good for you for like having them in the same week and just being done with birthdays
Yes.
for the rest of the year.
Oh, yeah, that's the move.
That's planning. That's
the way.
organization.
That is- yeah, that's the way to do it. That's the way.
Project management.
Thank you, everybody, for your celebrations this week. We are trucking right along. We're almost done, I promise you, because you are all just here for Chris. I know that. That's clear to all of us. But let's jump into this week in Disney history. Yes, I'm going to make you sit through it one more week.
Kale's favorite.
Kale's very favorite. All right, let's jump right in. Ironically, we don't have a birthday this week, but we had 3 or 4 other birthdays to celebrate. So birthdays are covered already. But let's jump in with 54 years ago on February 13th, 1969, soprano singer Loulie Jean Norman and tenor Bill Reeves sat down for an improv recording session of a very famous Disney attraction song that would open in Disneyland later that year. Fellas, any guesses on what attraction this may have been for? And bonus points for if you can tell me which characters within that attraction they were recording.
Did you say opened in 1969?
It did. It did open later on in 1969.
And a soprano and a tenor.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Because I know the Haunted Mansion opened in 1969, but I don't know that there's not like a soprano tenor situation in there.
There's not. So the only thing I can think of is that the woman speaking might be a soprano, but the guy singing is not a tenor, right?
The woman speaking what?
When the cryptos creep and that whole thing.
Oh, it's got to be
Oh,
the Haunted
wait.
Mansion then.
And the opera singer. I think it is the Haunted Mansion because of the opera singer.
Oh, that's
graveyard.
right.
What is the Haunted
Yeah,
Mansion, Alex?
You're right. You're right.
You are correct. Collectively, you are as smart as one person because it was the Haunted Mansion and the 2 opera singers within that ride.
I need to find out who the tenor
Silence.
is, though. Anyway, oh well.
I'll take Disneyland attractions for 600.
And that's all for this week in Disney. I'm just kidding.
Nope. Moving on. I have 7 more items just for Kale. All right, here we go. 104 years ago, on Valentine's Day, interestingly, February 14th, 1919, 2 men were both discharged from their positions within World War I. The first was Alan Alexander Milne, A.A. Milne, from the British Army. The other, on the very same day, was Roy O. Disney from the U.S. Navy. So 4 years later, after their discharge from their positions, Roy would found what we now know, of course, as the Walt Disney Company with Walt Disney in 1923. 3 years after that, A. Milne would publish the first Winnie the Pooh book in 1926, and 51 years after that, Disney would release The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh in 1977. How random is that?
That is random. Do you think they like saw each other on their way out and were like, one day they'll be sorry, you watch. And then
I'll be seeing you
probably
in 50 years.
right.
Do you think in the Army they ever explored each other's bodies?
Oh, boy.
Did they go deep in the 100-acre
This-
wood?
This turned into, well, you know what? Now that Winnie the Pooh is public domain, we can make that movie.
We can make that movie.
Oh dear.
Yep. This is no longer.
No, we never want a gay love story with Pooh in the title.
Okay.
Oh, no.
The only way I can think of to get us out of that and still stay on the air somehow is there are some titles we are going to explore coming up in the future with JT, who has an announcement to make that is also for all of our Tweedles, not just exclusive to our Patreon members. JT?
Did y'all realize that we are releasing episode 214 on the week of 214?
I did, yes. I knew this months ago, JT. What on earth?
Anyway, on to my announcement.
Great.
That's right, Patrick. Are you ready for a twisted tale of the bottomless blue? Well, look out, Tweeds. A sea witch be waiting for you. You've done the D, now it's time to do the B. That's right, Gaze to the D is launching Tweed Reads. Wait, no, like... Thank you.
Yes!
Our quarterly Disney book club for Tweedles far and near, because reading is, what's that word again?
Fundamental.
And we're kicking off Tweed Reads with everyone's favorite ginger. No, not Prince Harry. It's Princess Ariel. Read along with us as we swim through Part of Your World, A Twisted Tale by Liz Braswell. This novel in the Twisted Tale series imagines what might have happened if Miss Thingamabob had not defeated Ursula's legendary Octopussy. What would you give to read where you are? What would you pay to read right alongside us? I'm glad you asked. No need to sign your life away or give up your voice. Just buy a copy of Part of Your World at your favorite bookstore, download the audiobook, or borrow it from your local library and read along with us. We'll discuss the book in May, right around the release of Disney's live-action remake of The Little Mermaid, starring Halle Bailey, because synergy is sinfully delicious.
Fantastic. The GDTD library is officially open. Thank you so much, JT. I'm very excited about this. I think it'll be a fun time.
I am too. I'm looking forward to this.
Amazing. So that'll happen in May. So Tweedles out there, look for an announcement on Instagram. And of course, we'll keep announcing it as we get closer to that date. Very exciting. And we'll post that in the show notes as well of what book title it is, just in case so you don't have to like rewind and listen to it again. But thank you very much for setting that up for us, JT.
Are you saying no one would want to listen to that announcement a second time?
I am saying that.
Okay,
I'm saying it
just
right here,
confirming.
right now.
Thank you.
I'm just saying we only have so much time in the episode, and we simply can't do it again. But we have one more announcement to make before we get into the main part of our show today. JT, I'm going to give it right back to you again. I'm going to let you announce the winner of the Figment popcorn bucket that you so graciously purchased for us on your last trip to Disney World.
Can I have a drum roll, please?
Drums.
Drum.
That's enough.
Drum.
Cut.
That was Patrick's
Cut.
audition to be in Pentatonics.
Cut.
Drums.
And the Figment popcorn bucket goes to At the Glen with Two Ends. Hey-o.
Yes!
Congratulations, the Glen with Two Ends. You know what? I love that name, and it just gave me a thought. How cool would it be to have a children's book character named Glen with Two Ends, and it's like a children's book series about the Glen with Two Ends.
What are you drinking tonight, JT? Because I need to understand what's happening.
I will take this Figment popcorn bucket back to Epcot.
Please explain to me what you mean, JT with one T.
No, like, you know how you have like a children's book series and there's like a character and it's like, has little adventures, and like it's the Glenn with two N's, and like his thing is like he goes to school and he's the Glenn with two N's, and that's how he introduces himself everywhere.
That's adorable.
Because nobody can ever get his name right,
Right?
And so he has to say, "I'm the Glenn with two N's."
Yeah, it's very Anne with an E.
Yeah, it's very Anne with an E.
I got you. Yes.
Yeah.
Same page.
I'm sorry, Glenn.
No, that's great. Thank you. I mean, so much for having a shorter episode this time around. It's okay though. We're doing well. No, but congratulations to Glenn with two N's, and thank you again, JT, for procuring. That's a hard word to say. Procuring. Wow.
For stealing
What
the
am I
Figment
drinking?
popcorn bucket.
For taking that bucket and sending it to the Glenn with two N's.
Yes.
We will be reaching out to you to get your address so we can hand deliver it to you and sing a song at your doorstep.
I will come
as well.
dressed as Figment. No, I will be dressed as Dreamfinder, and I will personally hand you the Figment popcorn bucket.
Along with some notes for your children's book that you're about to, about to write for
a
us.
contract to use your name and likeness for this.
I love
series.
it. Well, thank you. And thank you to all who entered. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think we had the most entries for this prize that we've ever had before. So the popcorn bucket is coveted. The popcorn bucket is protected at all costs. The Glenn with two N's.
Yes.
Well, children, it is time we jump into the main part of our episode. You've all been waiting for this. None of us really need to be here because once he starts talking, you're not going to want to stop listening. He has all the tea for everything you want to know about Disney. Of course, we're talking about Chris. Chris from Wishful Thinking. We've said it before. We'll say it again. Chris is a full-time authorized travel planner specializing in Disney destinations, including, but not limited to, Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disneyland Paris, Tokyo Disney Resort, Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney, and Aulani, a Disney resort and spa in Hawaii. You can find Chris and all of his services on the interwebs at wishful-thinking.com, or you can find him on Instagram at what I imagine he hates to say this because it's really hard to find, but bookmark it because it's very useful. He's on Instagram at Twitter at wishful_thinking with no I's. So THNKNG. I'll let him explain that when he's on the episode. But we love Chris. I believe, has everyone here met him, or just JT, you've met him before?
I have met him.
And Ryan, you've met him before. Kale, you're the only one, Kale.
No, yeah, I've never met him. I'm sure he knows who I am, though.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that, but we adore Chris. All of our Tweedles who have used his services have said nothing but amazing things about Chris. And we'll say this a million times. He is absolutely, his services are free to use, no cost to use. So whatever you were going to pay for your Disney trip, he will plan the whole thing for you at zero cost to you. And he is incredible at what he does. His knowledge knows no bounds, and you're about to find out why we love him so much in just a couple seconds. Listen now to the stylings, the magical storytelling that is Chris from Wishful Thinking. Fellas, can you hear the band playing, the crowd cheering for this gay pride parade that's happening right here, right now on Gaze to the D with not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 homosexuals talking about Disney on the same podcast?
This is the real gay days.
At what number do we have to hit before we are registered as a gaggle?
I think it's just 2.
Yeah.
Just two and you're a gaggle.
Where 2 or more are gathered, Ryan.
Where 2 or more gathered, you're officially a
I
gaggle.
love it.
This is always one of the questions when you take the Animal Kingdom Safari. They start quizzing you about the different names for the animal groups.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
A group of baboons is called a congress.
Is it really?
Thank you, Kale.
It is. It sure is. Yes.
I did not know that.
Fellas, we're already off track. It's a great start. Great start to the main segment. But you've already heard his voice. You recognize him. You love him. You know him. For those of you who have not yet met him, you are in for a treat. Chris, welcome back for, what is it, the 5th, 6th time to Gaze Do the D.
I've lost count at this point, and it's so funny because I remember the very first time coming on, I was just praying that you guys would like me and I wouldn't embarrass myself so much that I was never invited back.
Oh, well, we didn't like you, but the tweeters did, so that's why we continue to have you back. It's for the fans, Chris. But thank you for joining us once again. I have to kick us off before we start. We're going to jump into some questions because we have a lot to get through. As you all know, there's a lot happening in Disney right now. But Chris, so many of our Tweedles have, when they heard that you were coming back on the episode, our Tweedles who have used your services reached out to me directly and said, I don't have a question for Chris. I just want you to let him know how much we appreciate him, how much we love him, how much we adored working with him. This is a true story. At least 4 or 5 people reached out with those exact sentiments. And so you have some fans out there who are also listeners of Gaze to the D. So I know they're excited to hear you.
That's incredibly sweet, but honestly, the feeling is mutual because the people who I have had the chance to help through this podcast have all been incredible clients who I would love to help out again. One of the reasons why I love what I do is because I get to live vicariously through these people. And so when I get the chance to get to know clients, that I really get to feel like I'm there with them. But honestly, everyone that's come through this podcast has been amazing. So if you are listening, this is kind of a filter. It's a beautiful filter. The people who like this podcast are great folks.
Oh, I love that. Now, tell us the real truth. Who's a monster? who have you worked with? I'm just kidding. Save that for Gaze to the D-Rod Uncut. But let's jump right into some questions for you, Chris. First off, before we get into the Disney of it all, as we mentioned already, and as everyone knows by now, you are, of course, an authorized Disney vacation planner. But for those at home who don't know what that means, tell us what does that actually entail? What would you say, Chris, you do here?
I spend my day thinking wonderful thoughts and sprinkling pixie dust into the lives of perfect strangers. The reason why I do what I do is because going on a Disney vacation has become incredibly difficult to plan, very complicated, and it gets more and more so every year. The most recent earnings call showed us that the parks division is doing very well, and we're seeing that. Folks are really flocking to Disney World, Disneyland, the cruises. Even Disneyland Paris and the Asian parks are starting just to get super busy. So considering how far in advance you need to plan your trip, considering how many decisions there are to make in terms of where you might stay, honestly, I think a huge part of why people reach out for help is just that they want some advice on which hotels to stay in. A lot of folks who have been to Disney World or Disneyland before, they only visit the one hotel where they're staying, so they might not necessarily know what things are really like in other hotels. And if the hotel where they've typically gone isn't available, or maybe now they might like to splurge and stay someplace a little nicer, they want some good advice about what's a good use of their money. So half of what I do is just talk to folks about what they have in mind, and then identify the pros and cons of different places to stay, and then into planning questions like, how many days do they really need? Some folks can't necessarily visit every park, or they might want to visit one park more than once or twice. Folks have questions about the other things they might like to see. If they're at Disneyland, for example, and they want to do some Hollywood stuff, some sightseeing, go see the Hollywood sign. Or maybe they're going to Paris and they're questioning whether or not they should, plan to go see the Eiffel Tower just on like a quick trip, or if they should plan a few days of sightseeing. All that stuff is all part of what I do. But we also help folks with pricing. A huge, huge part of any Disney trip is the fact that pricing can be dramatically different based on how you plan it when you go. There are certain hotels that are super affordable and others that are an absolute splurge. But thankfully, Disney informs us about all kinds of things, from detailed pricing from week to week to promotional prices and discounts and stuff that are offered throughout the year. So that's all a huge part of what we do.
Well, Chris, as a planner, can you help someone with their itinerary, down to little details, 8:10, we're getting on the bus, 8:25, we're going to get corn dog nuggets. We can't get them at 8:25, but you know what I mean.
Absolutely. To be honest, I like to follow folks' lead. There are some folks who they are really into the planning process and they want to plan it all themselves. So they might really just want to set up a booking, and then they might not need to talk to me again. And then there's other folks who maybe haven't been to Disney World, especially in a long time. And they might not necessarily know that the thing they were planning on doing is completely impossible. So, for example, I'll have folks who say, hey, we're going to do Magic Kingdom on this day. And then, we couldn't find a lunch reservation, so we think we're going to do lunch at Disney Springs. And they haven't been to Disney World, so they don't know that it's going to take them an hour to get to Disney Springs and then another 35 minutes walking around, possibly another hour to get back. And so I, a lot of times, just have the chance to go day through the days and identify things that just might not work. We also love to book specific things that are hard to get. We love to help folks get those dining reservations that are hard to get. It's a huge part of what I do is working through, this day would be great for this reservation and this day you're more likely to get this reservation. I know some of those weird, quirky details about how many people in a party are going to score that table of 6 at Sci-Fi Dine-In, or how hard it is to get breakfast at Cinderella's Royal Table. So a lot of that stuff is stuff I do. We book VIP tours. We can do Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, lightsaber workshops. And then even during the trip, a lot of times we'll help folks. So it's not unusual at all for someone to go wrong halfway through the trip. And either you're planning this whole thing on your own and now you have to call Disney and wait on hold for 90 minutes while you're stuck in a park trying to figure out what went wrong. Or you just shoot me a text message real quick and I can fix it for you. So honestly, that's one of the things I love to do. And there are things that go wrong, trust me. Sometimes it's Disney's fault. Sometimes it's, the client didn't get a certain piece of info. But it's my job to leap to action and do whatever I can to make it right.
And I would say that's probably, for my money, that's the most valuable part of having someone assist you with your trip is those things that are unexpected that you, as a consumer or as someone who's on the trip, you're already stressed, right? You're on a trip, you're with your family, whatever. You don't want to have to deal with an error happening or a reservation getting dropped or whatever. Chris will do that for you. You can keep going. Tell Chris what happened, go on a ride. You'll get off the ride and he'll have fixed it for you probably. It is invaluable what he does.
You're very nice. But honestly, I like to because I know what it's like to be on a vacation when, honestly, the last Disney World trip I took with my family, just trying to manage tempers within my 3 sisters was challenging enough. I have seen more families completely freak out just with one another in the middle of a hot, crowded, exhausting day. So the nice thing is that you have someone else who can help you out. But honestly, sometimes other things go wrong. I had someone who had a snowstorm who canceled all of their flights, and I had to literally call Disney and literally push their entire trip itinerary back by one day. Everything from all their dining reservations to their hotel stays. That was a night's work. I definitely earned my keep on that particular trip, but it was something I was happy to do. The other thing to keep in mind, though, is that things constantly change. And so I think a lot of folks that like to plan their own trips, they might enjoy watching YouTube videos or TikToks, and those are fun. But a lot of times that info is out of date or something has just changed. And thankfully, Disney trains us, and we are continually trained. It is part of the vetting process we go through, and then as part of how we maintain our accreditation is by keeping up on the latest news. And so we can give people accurate info about, yes, that is happening now, or nope, that's not available anymore. Answering things like that, honestly, having a reputable source in your phone that you can literally just call or text on a moment's notice is, I think, a huge part of what I do.
And it's free. That's amazing.
That's right. I'm going to, you don't have to say it, Chris. I'll say it for you 1,000 times. You don't have to pay anything to use Chris's services. He comes with the package, basically, if you book through Chris.
That is true. If I set up your reservation for you, then Disney pays me commission. It is a straight, simple payment that comes simply by booking your trip. And then all the help that I give you is free.
I love it. Amazing.
So let's jump right into the parks, starting with Disney World. As our Tweedles know, there's lots happening there lately, with new things arriving like Tron Light Cycle Run, old favorites returning like Happily Ever After. How do we plan for all of this? When is a good time of the year to go? And please keep in mind, I have a strict 5-inch inseam.
Have you done a Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique makeover? Because I think we're also waiting to see when the pirate makeovers come back. A lot of folks didn't know this, but there were also makeovers that were happening in the different hair salons at the hotels. So we should look into that, but that's something that adults can do. So there's actually a bunch of stuff that has just changed and a bunch of things that are right about to change. Most recently, Hotel parking is now complimentary for all guests, which is super exciting. But so much is about to change the first week of April. You guys might have seen this news announcement, but folks are really excited. Happily Ever After, the fireworks spectacular at Magic Kingdom, is coming back. When I was there with you, Patrick, actually, the night that Enchantment first premiered, and even then, there was grumble and rumbling among the crowd saying, I want Happily Ever After back. Do you remember that, Patrick?
I was one of those people. I was one of those.
I think both shows have their charms, but Happily Ever After is certainly the crowd favorite. It will return on April 3rd. That same night, Harmonious will have ended at Epcot, and Epcot Forever will come back. Epcot Forever is a show that's essentially built on nostalgia for Epcot, and especially for the 80s version of Epcot, which was my personal favorite version. I visited Epcot on my 10th birthday in the 1980s, and it remains one of my favorite Disney days. But that's all setting up for the 4th of April. The 4th is when the brand new Tron Light Cycle Run finally opens. It's been under construction forever. We're super excited. If you haven't followed the news, one of the things to keep track of is the fact that they've announced that it's only going to be boarding via reservations. You're going to either need a virtual queue boarding group, or you're going to need an individual lightning lane. And the fact that so many folks are going to want to experience that attraction, there's some things you can do to be more easily set up to actually accomplish that. One of the huge things that I can recommend is to stay in a Walt Disney World Resort hotel. Disney World Resort guests get first access to those individual lightning lanes. And what we saw happen when Epcot's Guardians of the Galaxy coaster opened, we found that many of the individual lightning lanes were fully purchased by hotel guests. And so those who were not staying in a Disney hotel didn't have the chance to get that individual lightning lane. They had to just kind of pray to the digital gods that they'd be able to get a virtual queue boarding group. And if you didn't, you didn't get to ride it. So you really increase your chances of experiencing that if you're in a Disney hotel. If you're in a deluxe hotel, that may also give you additional chances. We still don't know for sure. But with Guardians of the Galaxy, those who were in deluxe hotels had the chance to get an additional entry into the virtual queue on the nights that Epcot had extended hours. So it remains to be seen, but I wouldn't be surprised if deluxe hotel guests have an extra chance to experience that coaster. With that said, right now there's so many promotions happening. If you do want to stay in a Disney Resort hotel, they've got 25% off on a whole bunch of stays from April 10th through the 10th of July. And then they also just announced this huge kind of fascinating new promotion where they're giving away free dining based on how many nights you might stay. I'm not sure if you guys saw this. The dining plan hasn't come back yet. I'm not sure if you remember the dining plan. It was a way to prepay for your meals. Folks have wanted that to come back, but instead they've created this new idea where you essentially get a gift card that you can use at any of the Walt Disney restaurants. And that gift card value is coming to you based on how many nights you stay and based on what hotel category you're in. So per night, they're giving you for free dining $35 per night up to $150 per night, as long as you've got a hotel booking of 4 days or longer. And so that's a promotion that's happening from June 25th through September 14th. Anyway, if you want to stay in a Disney hotel, Disney's got a lot of incentives to get you there. And now, honestly, is a great time to start looking, even if you think you might not make it till the end of the year. We're really seeing folks book up far in advance, especially the Halloween and the Christmas periods. Now that those parties are back for the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party and Mickey's Very Merry Christmas party, those Halloween and Christmas weeks book up far out. So if you're thinking about doing a hotel stay, reach out. We should set up your booking. It's only a $200 deposit to reserve it, and it's completely refundable. So the earlier you look, the more likely you are to get the hotel you want at the price point you want.
I have to say the fact that they're not starting those dining programs until after gay days is a little homophobic. It feels a little bit, I feel a little stressed about that, but listen, I can forgive it.
Chris, let's make like a young man and go west again. Disneyland is, of course, on the West Coast. Lots of amazing things happening at Disneyland Resort this year with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. opening. Live entertainment is coming back. And of course, Disneyland is the hub of the Disney 100 celebration. So for our Tweedles out there who are thinking about maybe planning a trip out west to visit Disneyland in 2023, what are some tips that they can use?
Disneyland is also super popular, and it's very different from Disney World. I know so many Disney World guests who have never been to Disneyland. Similarly, I know a decent number of Disneyland folks that have never been to Disney World. But if you've never been to Disneyland, you really should go. And I think this year is going to be one of the best times you possibly could go. They are centering the 100-year anniversary celebration there right now. And so there's merchandise and there's new celebrations. There's new entertainment. They've got outfits. They've got all kinds of fun, just sparkle all over the parks. They've laid out their monorail with new iridescent decals. So it's kind of got that festivities, extra sparkle. But there's some specific things they're bringing into the parks. First off, park hopping now starts at 11 a.m. So you don't have to wait until the afternoon hours to go back and forth. And it is the easiest place to park hop. You literally walk out the gate of one park and you walk maybe a minute and a half when you're inside the other. It's so easy. They've also made attraction ride photos free for all guests. So those pictures that they capture, like by the magical robots as you're zooming down Space Mountain or going around corners, is now included, and it shows up on your app. A lot of folks are really, really into the new fireworks show that has just premiered at Disneyland. It's called Wondrous Journeys, and it is featuring segments from all 61 of Walt Disney Animation's films. One of the things that I love about it is that they're really including all of those movies, including ones that maybe weren't the most popular, like Treasure Planet and Black Cauldron, and they've got stuff from Fox and the Hound, like things that we don't normally see in the nighttime entertainment. So if you have a soft spot for any of those films, you might be touched to see what's happening there. There's also a Baymax who's literally flying over the castle. It looks fantastic. They have a new show happening over at Disney California Adventure. It's called World of Color 1, and it is the first show that's including characters from Walt Disney Animation and Pixar and Star Wars. It's 24 minutes long. When people go to Disneyland for the first time, I always try to think, what are the things that I might not have expected that I really wish someone had told me? World of Color is one of them. I would have not expected it to be so cool, and I would not have expected it to be so freaking crowded. It really, really packs them in around the lagoon where his show happens. And if you haven't shown up super early, if you happen to have someone who is smaller with you, holding a 3-year-old on top of your shoulders can be rough. And so Disneyland has made it easy for you to find ways that you can see the show. And there's 3 big ways I want to highlight. First off, if you do a World of Color dining package, then they will guarantee you special seating. You can do that by dining at Storytellers Cafe for dinner time or doing Wine Country Trattoria for lunch or dinner. And different than like Disney World and these other dining packages, this is a perk that's available simply by dining there. You don't need a special reservation. If you just are doing dinner at Storytellers Cafe or doing lunch or dinner at Wine Country Trattoria, you can simply ask your server to do the dining package, and then you get a 3-course prefix meal, and they give you special seating. This is something a lot of folks don't know about, but every day at noon, if you open your app, you can request a virtual queue spot, and then you get primo standing area to watch the show. But it really is right in the center with some of the best views of the whole thing, and that's free. Happens every day at noon. There's other things coming back to that I'm extra excited about. Have you seen any of the videos of the Magic Happens parade?
Only videos, but I think we talk about it here on the podcast that maybe 7 people have actually seen it live and in person so far.
It was showing for such a short amount of time before everything shut down for the pandemic. But one of the reasons why I love it is because I swear it's the gayest soundtrack Disney has ever put in a parade.
And that's saying something.
Yes, it was composed and put together by Todrick Hall, and you might know him because he's had a lot of viral videos and YouTube things. Disney hired him to write this song. I think it is such a banger. I actually want to dance when I hear this song. The choreography is fierce. The costumes are super cool. And I'm really excited that is coming back starting on February 24th. And then on March 8th, Mickey's Toontown is finally reopening. It has been closed for this huge renovation. When it reopens, they're going to have a bunch of new grass lawns, an area that they're calling Centennial Park. They're going to have a new splash pad, a new playground with Goofy up in his clubhouse. You're going to be learning how to make candy from part of Goofy's Candy Company. They're going to have new treats, and they're finally going to do meet and greets with Mickey and Minnie again. They probably won't offer those every day, but the fact that they're going to reopen Mickey and Minnie's house, they've been closed since the pandemic. I'm excited for that. Also, tomorrow, you guys, they're reopening the Adventureland Treehouse. When they closed that treehouse from what was formerly Tarzan, they're restoring it back to the original version with the Swiss Family Robinson and putting a lot of that original Disney Imagineering ideas back into it. I'm very curious to see what that looks like. We'll know tomorrow.
Yeah, that is super exciting. But we should say, when you do say tomorrow, you actually mean 3 days ago from when this podcast drops. But listen, podcasting timeline gets me every time.
So those of you who are listening to this now, go on the Wishful Thinking Instagram, and I'm going to have photos of the new Adventureland Treehouse. Hopefully I'll have those to share with you. One other thing that I really want to shout out at Disneyland, I feel like it hasn't gotten enough attention. There's a terrific show there performing currently 5 days a week at the Fantasyland Theater, and it's called Tale of the Lion King. This was adapted from a previous version, but they really plussed it when it reopened last year. The choreography is astonishing. The performers are amazing. And I don't want to overuse the word amazing, but I truly was amazed at the quality of the talent on that stage. There are numerous versions of Lion King happening at different parks around the world. I think the one at Disneyland is by far the best. They've taken the characters and they've humanized them. Rather than watching lions and meerkats, we're watching people perform these stories. And those human interactions and that human connection to the story, to me, is extra powerful. So do not miss it if you go. One other big tip I need to tell you, though, is that if you're thinking about the Halloween months, this year, we expect that the Oogie Boogie Bash is going to sell out lickety-split. Last year, it sold out extra fast, and I think because it sold out so quickly last year, that folks are going to just grab it. So keep your eye out. Last year, they announced the dates in early July, and the tickets were available from September through Halloween. So this summer, you're going to want to already have your hotel reservation by the time they announce the Oogie Boogie Bash. It is undeniably Disney's best Halloween party. If you haven't seen videos of the way they bring out the villains, the interactions that they do with the villains there, they are second to none. And the fact that LA has some incredible talent just in their back door, I'm sure helps them find some super talented performers. But all I know is that it's on my wish list of something to do this year. I can't wait to do it.
Yeah, can confirm. If it is my favorite party at any Disney park that I've ever been to. It's absolutely outstanding.
Okay, so, all of this really does sound super exciting about Disneyland. So tell us where we're going to sleep. So accommodations-wise, do you think that it's worth it to stay in the Disneyland hotels, or are the Good Neighborhood hotels a better idea?
This is probably our number one question. Unlike Walt Disney World, Disneyland only has 3 hotels. And the fact that there's only 3 means that the demand is high and the supply is low. So prices are pretty steep for those Disney hotels. They've become even a little steeper because they're currently renovating their 3rd hotel, the Paradise Pier Hotel, which is going to become the Pixar Place Hotel. But rather than shut the whole thing down for a top-to-bottom renovation, they're closing it in chunks and keeping it partially open, which means that whole portions of the hotel are closed while they're being renovated. All is to say, if it's in your budget to stay in one of the Disneyland hotels, I do think it's worth it. They have just brought back one of the main perks of staying in the Disney hotels, which is that you have early park entry. 30 minutes before everyone else, you have the chance to enter the parks, have some extra fun. It's important to know that not every attraction is open during the early park entry hours. For example, Radiator Springs Racers is not open during that time. And over at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, Rise of the Resistance is not open during that time. So you cannot experience those, but you can go on a lot of the other rides that do get longer lines before other folks show up. And Disneyland really is the kind of place where a lot of folks don't show up right away because folks are stuck in traffic on their way from LA. They're still on the 405. Meanwhile, the fact that you're staying right there, you get to go out into the parks and have some fun. But that's also true with the Good Neighbor hotels in terms of just their location. Many of them are directly across the street from the entrance to Disneyland. And there's one particular Good Neighbor hotel that I've been putting up so many clients lately. They've loved it. Everyone has loved it. And many have gone back numerous times. It's the brand new Westin they're not giving me anything to promote them, but there's a brand new Westin Anaheim, and it's located just behind Disney California Adventure. Thankfully, it is cheaper than the Disneyland hotels, but it's in many ways nicer than many of the rooms at the Disneyland hotels. It's brand new, super classy. They've got a rooftop bar with views of the fireworks that you can go up and enjoy on maybe your arrival night before you've actually gone into the parks. And it's very easily walkable to the entrance. So I love that Westin. But there's other great hotels there. A lot of times you can get rooms there for like $200 a night, sometimes cheaper. So it really can be quite affordable, especially if you're going off season and especially if you're going during the week. This is the big secret for Disneyland. Prices are much higher on weekends. Hotels are cheaper on the weekdays. The weekdays is also when the special events happen, like Oogie Boogie Bash. They don't do those on Friday and Saturday nights. They don't need to. They're already busy on Friday and Saturday. That happens during the week. So if you're thinking ahead, if you have any way to it, try to be at Disneyland and DCA on weekdays. You'll have a much better time, I promise you.
Chris, I remember walking past that Westin that you're talking about on my last Disneyland trip, which was during D23 last year. And I do remember thinking, like, this is so close and just seemed so new and nice and just like such an easy walk to the park.
It's lovely. And on that walk, you go right by a Starbucks, you go right by a big Walgreens, you can get everything you might need. It's great.
Well, Chris, before we head overseas, let's get a little bit gay. This June, Gay Days returns to Disney World. Walk us through your tips on planning for a Gay Days Orlando trip and what we can expect if we've never been.
So I'd love to address what I thought Gay Days was going to be before I ever went. And Patrick, if I could loop you in on this, I would love to get your impressions as well, because we had the chance to visit last year. I think because I had been to a bunch of big Pride events, especially a lot of more circuit-themed events, I kind of thought that Gay Days would basically just be a circuit party where you happen to do a little bit of Disney during the day. When I visited, I actually discovered it was one of the broadest spectrums of the LGBTQ plus community that I've ever seen anywhere at any event of its kind. I saw folks, especially same-sex couples with kids. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's not who I see when I go to circuit parties. And it was really, really delightful to see this segment of the community that we know exists, but we often don't have the chance to see. Seeing those folks with their kids, with the chance to introduce their kids to other kids who also had same-sex couple parents. It was unbelievably endearing. I also saw a bunch of folks from older generations, including folks that had been together since forever and ever, wearing T-shirts saying, you know, we're celebrating our 50th anniversary. Patrick, what was your impression when you saw kind of the folks who showed up for Gay Days?
Yeah, I think you described it correctly in that it is a really broad spectrum. And Ryan can speak to this too, living in Orlando, that Orlando is a very queer-friendly town, right? It is very progressive. When you think of Florida, you don't necessarily think that, but Orlando happens to be a very progressive city. And during Gay Days, and it's getting better every year, I think, Gay Days Orlando and Gay Days in the parks at Disney, you're just going to see everybody. You're seeing... How do I describe this best? You're seeing the joy of the queer community, right? You're seeing the positive side of the queer community. Certainly, we've gone through a lot as a community, and we don't forget it during Gay Days in Orlando. But we are all there to celebrate, and it feels very wholesome and inviting and inclusive. You can certainly find the other circuit parties that may be a little less kid friendly if you're searching for that, but you for the most part it's very kid friendly. Ryan, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the testament of Gay Days being really diverse is the best parts of being LGBTQ in Orlando. For me personally, out of all of the different cities that I've lived in, I feel most seen and most safe and most heard in Orlando. I think Orlando has done such a great job at protecting its LGBTQ community. all the way up to politically in our political structure. Our mayor is a huge ally. We have several representatives in the House of Representatives that come from Orlando that are huge allies and also members of the LGBTQ community. And so I do recommend to everybody who is seeing all of the things that you see in the news that are unfortunate about Florida. I just really want to encourage you to recognize that news is usually all about the shock value, and recognize that there's still people here that are doing wonderful things for our community, and definitely come and support them as well.
Say that.
I will never forget. It was 2019 and one of my visits that I saw a family who was visiting from India. And Walt Disney World has international guests all the time. But India traditionally has been a country that has not been supportive of their LGBTQ plus community. And here was a young gay man who had brought his family all the way from India because he knew that his family supported him, and they were all wearing red t-shirts that day. And it was just, I honestly cried. I thought it was so inspiring. And he himself was clearly just feeling thrilled. And it was literally, I mean, mom, dad, grandma, brothers, cousins. It was everybody. It was really exciting. So let's talk about that. Here's one of the ways that this event has grown. It really grew organically. Back in the day, local LGBTQ plus folks decided, let's all go to the Magic Kingdom on the first Saturday in June, and let's all wear red t-shirts as a way to just identify among ourselves that we are queer. And the idea caught on, and then it really grew from there. Nowadays, there's 2 different organizations that host really large events. One of them has gone ahead and incorporated the name Gay Days. And so if you do a Google search, you'll probably see events from Gay Days, Inc. But then the other large party and event hosting company is called One Magical Weekend, and they host one of the most popular events of the whole weekend, which is a Friday night private party at Typhoon Lagoon called Riptide. Riptide is one of the most exciting events, as far as I'm concerned, of Gay Days, simply because it's a bunch of folks dancing on the sand, having a blast, swimming through the wave pool, riding water slides. And it's also surprisingly diverse. They've got a bunch of women, and they have a dance floor for women. They had a whole dance floor and a whole socialized area for bears and for folks from the bear community. I think it's a really, really fun event. Ryan, I'm curious what you think of this event.
Yeah, from what
Ryan's
I've heard,
making faces.
I've never been to Gay Days before, to be completely honest. Whenever last year was kind of our first year here with the parks being open and Gay Days being back in action. I've only heard legends of nights at Typhoon Lagoon of years past. And those legends are reserved for raw and uncut episodes. So please subscribe to our Patreon so that you can have access to them.
What I can say, Ryan, is that, like everything, an event really is what you make it. And for those of us that want to dance and have fun and swim in the pools, it's a really fun way to do that.
Well, after that Riptide Rager, we're going to be really tired. So talk to us about accommodations specifically for Gay Days. Like, is there an official host hotel? Do you recommend specific places? Does Walt Disney World have a White Lotus? Where am I going to find a date for Riptide? These are all crucial, important questions that need to be answered immediately.
So both Gay Days and One Magical Weekend do have their own host hotels. It's not a bad idea to stay there, and I can actually set up that booking for you if you'd like me to. But keep in mind, if you want to do the Disney parks, all those same perks of staying in a Disney hotel certainly apply. So a lot of the folks who are there to really enjoy the Disney parks do end up staying in one of the Disney resort hotels. But one of the cool things to know is that all of the Disney Springs hotels enjoy most of those perks. And so if you're looking to save a little money, those Disney Springs hotels a lot of times are where we'll find folks, especially those rooms that can accommodate up to 4 or 5 adults per room. Folks that are looking to save some money, that's a great place to go. There's a brand new hotel right in the Disney Springs area. It's a new Drury Lane hotel. They have included in their nightly stays meals and afternoon cocktails. It's literally included with your nightly stay. So if you want to build that into a Walt Disney package, we can do that along with your tickets. So reach out if you're thinking for going to Gay Days. Now is the time to start looking. There's good availability, but you're going to want to book one of those Disney or Disney Springs hotels if you want to take advantage of the perks, getting in early to the parks. having the chance to book your dining early, all of those extra things that you get just by being a Disney Resort guest.
Is the White Lotus at Bonnet Creek? Is that where it is?
I think someone always dies at the White Lotus hotels. That's what I hear. I'm not sure.
Oh, so it's not on Disney property then. Okay.
Yeah.
So I know that you talked about this a little bit earlier with, making sure that we go ahead and grab tickets for things, thinking, 3 to 4 months in advance. What would you say are the special entry tickets that we absolutely need to be considering tickets in advance? Like getting on the Ticketmaster special queue, like everybody's trying to do for Beyonce's Renaissance tour right now. What is your recommendations?
One of my best friends posted a photo literally today of him crying because he did not get Beyonce tickets. I don't want anyone to cry because you didn't get into the Magic Kingdom on the Saturday of June, but that is what happened last year. You guys, I had the chance to talk to Josh D'Amaro himself. He was in Magic Kingdom on the day, and on our talk on Main Street USA, he said, I thought I'd see more folks in red shirts. What I had to tell him is that I had a bunch of gay friends who did not get into the Magic Kingdom that day because they had not reserved a theme park reservation. And by the time they got around to buying their theme park ticket and going to make that reservation, the day was already fully allocated. So this is something that has changed. For those of you that didn't know, it's something that has changed since the pandemic. Anytime you want to go into a Disney park, you need more than just a ticket. You need also a reservation for that park. Thankfully, Disney just this year has changed their one-day ticket type, and you can purchase just a ticket for Magic Kingdom on that day, and it's going to get you in that day with a reservation. But most folks who do a multiple day ticket, like a 2 or a 3 or a 4 day park hopper ticket, you got to tell Disney which day you're going to go to Magic Kingdom. So this is another reason to get your reservation now. As soon as you have a Walt Disney Vacation package, you can book your theme park reservation. So do that ASAP, especially for that Saturday. For the other events that I mentioned, Riptide at Typhoon Lagoon is one event that has sold out in the past beforehand. Last year, there were tickets available at the door, but who knows what we're going to see this year. That's a good one to get in advance. But feel free to have a look at the events that are happening both on the Gay Days website and One Magical Weekend. There's a whole bunch of things happening, and they're planning to add more and more things every year. There's also more women's events that they've done in the past, so keep an eye out for that. But I've also had the chance to visit some of the local gay bars in Orlando. You guys, there's a really cool local gay community. Ryan is probably a good one to know about some of that stuff. A lot of those things we don't even really know about, but if you have the chance to look into, a lot of the local bars will have their own little parties on Thursday or Friday night, even Saturday and Sunday night. And it's so worth going to because, honestly, I think the local community in Orlando is really cool, and they know how to dance. I got some groove on the last time I went out. It was fun.
All right. Well, with that, I think it's time we head out of the country, friends. But we're going to keep it gay. We're going to head over to France, to Gay Paris, which is also... Hey-oh, thank you so much, Kale. Which is also hosting a Pride event this June, which is actually hosted by Disney itself, the Disneyland Paris Pride. So, Chris, walk us through what a trip like that might look like.
So as you said, this is the only LGBTQ event so far that has been officially sponsored and hosted by Disney. And last year, they absolutely went all out. They had their own parade during the day where they had the Disney characters dressed in multicolored. They weren't exactly rainbow. They weren't quite so on the nose to just be wearing rainbows, but they were clearly dressed in the full colors of the spectrum. It was delightful. They were doing meet and greets that afternoon. And then that night, they had their own private party just for those who had bought tickets for that event. They had a DJ, followed by well-known artists. Last year, Mika performed. I love some of his songs, and the crowd went crazy. Mm-hmm. They haven't told us yet who the performers are going to be this year, but you should expect them to be someone that you've heard of, maybe someone pretty famous. We still are awaiting a lot of the details, but the key thing is that you can buy tickets now. And if we set up your package, we can actually include that with your package. So we'll talk about what a package involves in just a bit, but put it on your calendar. June 17th is the day of Disneyland Paris Pride this year. If you are thinking of coming in June, there's a few things I want you to keep in mind. I was there in June last year. First off, the sun doesn't go down until 10 p.m. Y'all, Paris is the city of light, and that really is true around the summer equinox. So one of the great things about going to Paris that time of year are these long, beautiful days. It does mean that fireworks don't happen until 11 p.m. And then you might not make it back to your hotel until midnight. So it could be a pretty long day if that's what you're thinking. But it's a beautiful time of year to go. One of the things that makes me different from a lot of the folks who do this is that I just personally love Paris. I started traveling to Paris about 10 years ago. I've been going back a whole bunch since, and I lived in Paris the whole summer of 2021. So I know the city really well. I'm an annual pass holder actually at those parks. So I know those parks really well. And I love the chance to introduce Americans to those parks. I really do think that Disneyland Paris Park is the most charming and most beautiful of all of the castle parks. I really love it. Plus, as you may have heard, they are building a whole new area there at the second park. Walt Disney Studios Park is going to be home to Arendelle, the World of Frozen. We're expecting that to open in 2024. Also, 2024 is going to be a big year. We expect that the Disneyland Hotel, which is their kind of premier hotel, it's one of the only hotels that offers views directly into the park. The Disneyland Hotel has been going through a top-to-bottom renovation. They just posted some photos of what the rooms are going to look like, and they're going to be elegant and romantic, and I cannot wait. Hopefully that'll open at the end of this year, but we haven't got an opening date yet. Should be open by 2024. But 2024 is also when Paris is going to be hosting the Olympics. And they already have folks that are reaching out with a plan to visit the Paris Games, and then they want to do Disneyland Paris either before or after. Tickets just recently went on sale for the Olympics. Can you believe it? So if you are an Olympics person, or if you might be working for one of those corporations that sends hundreds of Americans over there, I knew people at NBC Sports who got to take a free trip to the last two Olympics. I know they're excited about France. Now is the time to start thinking about it. We are already booking into 2024 for Disneyland Paris. If you're thinking about other times of the year, though, it is hopefully helpful to know that their busiest time of year is August. So if you can avoid August, you really should. That's when all of France kind of takes its mutual vacation. The park gets super crowded, the hotels are extra pricey, and a lot of the coolest things in Paris shut down. A lot of those mom and pop cafes, the boulangerie that everybody told you was super delicious will just have a sign on their door saying that their staff has vacation for the whole month. August is not the time to go to Paris if you can avoid it. But Paris is a full year, 4-season park. They've got full-on spring, full-on winter. It just snowed a few weeks ago, and they have photos of the castle covered in snow and the characters out playing in the snow. So just be prepared for full weather. That said, the park is designed for all 4 seasons. It's fun and charming no matter when you go. Audrey Hepburn said it best, I think. She said Paris is always a good idea.
Oh, I love that.
This answer makes me so excited because I'm going to Paris in just a couple weeks in the March 8th through the 15th, and we are going to Disneyland Paris for 2 days. So, Chris, I'm going to hit you up for all of the questions.
Yay! I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I love that. It's so great to see Disneyland Paris getting some love in the next couple of years. It has been, I don't want to say the word neglected, but it has not gotten the love that it deserves, definitely, over the years, as a lot of the other parks have. Speaking of, before we move on to those other parks around the world, one quick follow-up question for you, Chris, is let's pretend that I do want to visit, not in August, but I do want to visit more of France while I'm on my trip to Disneyland Paris. Where would you say I should stay? Would you recommend staying somewhere in Paris and then taking a day trip into Disneyland, or a couple of day trips? Or would you recommend staying at one of their Disneyland hotels and then venturing out into the rest of France?
This is the most common question that I receive, because many folks are going to Paris for their very first time. And guys, do not go to Paris without seeing all those things that Paris has invited you to come and see. Paris really is one of the world's most charming and beautiful cities. So even if you are a huge Disney fan, even if your kids only care about Disney and you have to kind of twist their arm to give them some cultural exposure, trust me, it is absolutely worth it. Even the Eiffel Tower has surprises, things that you've seen countless times in TV and films. It's nothing like actually being there and reading just how incredible some of those accomplishments have been. Same thing for the Louvre. Far beyond Mona Lisa, there is art there from artists you've never heard of that will blow your mind. So you're going to want some sightseeing days in Paris. What I always recommend is that you book a hotel in Paris proper for your sightseeing days. You're going to want to be close to those spots that you're seeing. Paris is not a very big city, but Disneyland Paris is pretty far from the center of the city. It's a good hour. from the center of the city. And if you are thinking of staying in Paris but going out for the day, for example, let's say you have those late fireworks. It's really hard to see the fireworks and get out of the park and make it to the train station before the last train leaves at night. And if you happen to be on that last train, it is packed to the gills, and now you're standing for an hour on a commute back to Paris when you're freaking tired and your feet hurt. So that's really not the way to do it. I would only take the train and going out for the day if you've been to Disneyland Paris numerous times before and you just want to go on their version of Haunted Mansion or something. But if you really want to see the parks as they're meant to be seen and experience them, you're going to want to stay in Paris itself for your sightseeing days, then stay at the Disneyland hotels for your Disney days. One of the coolest perks of their Disney hotels, they've got 7 of them, and one of the coolest perks is that entry to the park is literally included simply by staying in the hotels. It is a perk of your hotel stay. So let's say that you only have a 2-night stay at the hotel. They give you entry to the park from the opening minutes of your check-in day all the way through to the closing minutes of your check-out day. So even just a 2-night stay gives you 3 full days in the park. And you'll find that typically, especially when you're off-peak season, the total price is notably cheaper than Walt Disney World or especially Disneyland. So if you're thinking about Disneyland Paris, we can book really far out. Reach out to me. Again, it's a super cheap deposit to put a reservation down. It's only 15%. You don't have to pay your balance until 11 days before you travel. So you have a nice long time to save up for that trip.
Well, continuing our journey around the world, heading over to Asia, both China and Japan have relaxed their border restrictions, allowing our Tweedles to visit those parks more easily. Is there a lot of renewed interest in those parks recently?
You guys, I have no idea how to communicate the level of interest there is from Americans specifically in traveling to Asia and going to those parks. Just since Japan announced that they were opening their borders to international guests. Just since then, which happened in late fall, I've received 133 client inquiries to travel to Tokyo Disney Resort. And many of those people are deep within the planning process before they had even reached out to me. These are many people who had been planning these trips, some of them since before the pandemic. Many of them have had the Asian parks as just kind of a bucket list. But word has gotten out that the Tokyo Disney parks specifically are the best in the world. As far as I'm concerned, they are. I loved my visits there. I've been there 4 times, and I cannot wait to go back. So yeah, interest is high. As you may have seen in the news, Tokyo is celebrating their 30th anniversary. That's starting on the 15th of April. They've got new entertainment, a new parade. They're doing a whole bunch of really cool merchandise. Tokyo's merchandise blows everyone else out the water. Like the stuff, I would literally need a whole suitcase if I bought everything that I wanted to. I just don't have any place to put it. But they're also building this whole new land at Tokyo Disney Sea. Tokyo Disney Sea is already easily the world's coolest Disney park. And in 2024, they're going to be opening Fantasy Springs, which is a new themed area that's going to have lands devoted to Frozen, Tangled, and Peter Pan. They're also building a brand new Fantasy Springs hotel that has some of the coolest looking architecture. It's kind of pulling from the Beaux-Arts French style. I'm waiting to see more of what it looks like, but what they've shown so far looks exquisite. I cannot wait. A lot of folks, though, when they talk about going to Tokyo, they're like, hey, if we're going all the way to Japan, what if we just made this a longer trip? And what if we did all 3 of the Disney destinations? I've had a number of honeymooners who have reached out specifically where they want to do like a 3-week trip. They want to do a trip to Shanghai to go to Shanghai Disneyland, and they also want to go to Hong Kong. I have now set up that itinerary for numerous clients, and I would love to help prepare anyone else who wants to do it. Going to China is always a bit of a to-do, especially if you're an American. You need to get a visa. I mean, you can technically enter without one, but you're really under the clock if you do enter without one. So if you reach out, I can help folks with all that kind of annoying paperwork that you have to do in order to get to China. But if you're able to, a trip to Shanghai soon is going to include their new Zootopia land that they've been developing. They started sharing photos and images from that. We expect that that's going to open either late this year or next year. They haven't given us an opening date. And then Hong Kong, they've just the other day, actually, Disney Parks showed a preview, including some footage of the land that's being built there. They've got an Arendelle World of Frozen, similar to what's happening in Paris. The one at Hong Kong is going to be opening late this year. I'm hoping to make it there myself. I'm working on my Asian trip as we speak. I don't know exactly what my dates are going to be, but dude, as soon as I make it back, I would love to come back on and talk to you about it, because I know I'm just going to have far too many things to say, and I'm just going to need someone to say it too.
We'll make it a double episode again.
Yeah. Chris, I'm going to have to ask you again. I'm going to Japan in October, and we are going to Tokyo Disney. So I'm going to have to ask you all of the questions for both of my trips this year.
Jet Set Ryan over here.
You know, we're trying to knock some stuff out in 2023 before another pandemic, just in case, you know? I shouldn't have said that.
That's
Somebody
exciting.
knock on wood.
Take that back.
I should. I need to take that back. I never said it.
Ryan, that is super exciting. I have actually already created a list. I have clients that are on their way to Tokyo now. I have other clients that were just there a few weeks ago. I have my own private map full of ramen shops, really cool places to get really good sushi, places to get the best street food, suggestions on how to do the different museums, including the museum where you get to see the films of Miyazaki and the Studio Ghibli exhibits. So reach out to me. I've got a really cool customized map with all kinds of recommendations. It's something I share with all my clients. I would love to share it with you.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I just want to feel like I'm going to go do go-sees like they do on America's Next Top Model. You remember the episode where they were in Japan? So that's like, give me all your advice. But anyways, I know that we have another question. Sorry.
No, this is great. This is magic happening right here on the episode. This is what Chris does. This is what you can expect from his services. Chris, I have to say, this has been just as per usual, chock full of information. I'm sure their noses are bleeding. They have no idea what to do with the information. But what they can do is reach out to you if they have questions for you, if they want to book any trips. But thank you again. It's always a pleasure to have you on the episode. Fellas, do you have any last questions for Chris before we head into some quick tea? I know my question is, Chris, will you stay with us and do some quick tea with us?
Sure.
An enthusiastic, sure, why not, I guess.
Chris, I have like one fun kind of question for you. Since you've been to all of the Disney parks around the world, I know there's like a select few attractions where there's an iteration in every, Disney castle park. Of all the haunted mansions around the world and all their different versions, Mystic Manor, Phantom Manor, what, in your opinion, is the best?
Okay, so I actually haven't been to Hong Kong yet. I would love to give you a fuller answer on this after I make it back. But for the ones that I have seen, I really do think Paris is the coolest. The coolest thing about the Haunted Mansions is that every Haunted Mansion is located in a different land around the world, and the one in Paris is in Frontierland. When I first discovered that, I was like, what are they thinking? This is crazy. But then when you ride it and you see how they connect the story to literally Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and they also tie in elements of French culture, including Gaston Leroux's Phantom of the Opera. They've got literally the reason why it's called Phantom Manor is because the Phantom is part of the story. I think it's fantastic, and it is not funny, scary the way that Disneyland and Disney World is. It's just like real spooky and eerie, and I like that. I like the kind of creepy, eerie feeling that I get there. I love it.
That's very cool.
Nice.
So I will echo what you're saying. Disneyland Paris was actually my first Disney park. So Phantom Manor was my first haunted mansion. And I remember riding it. And actually there were times where it actually was eerie and a little scary. And then when riding the actual haunted mansion attraction at Walt Disney World, it was sort of like, oh, okay, this is a kid's ride because my introduction to it was vastly different.
This makes me so excited. I have a ginormous Haunted Mansion tattoo, so I'm very excited to ride this.
Ryan, what are the dimensions of your suitcase?
It's approximately JT sized. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Perfect. Great. Just text me those dates.
Perfect. Well, again, Chris, thank you. We are going to hear more from you in Quick D in just a second. But as I said before, you're always a treat to have on. It's been way too long since we've had you back. So I'm so glad that you're with us yet again, spilling all the tea of what to expect around the world in in the Disney parks. Again, if you haven't heard it 1,000 times, now you're going to hear it 1,001 times. Chris's services are free to use. You do need to book through Chris to get your Disney vacation, but you're going to pay the exact same amount as you would have paid anyways. And who knows, Chris may be able to find you some deals that you wouldn't have even known to look for. So it may end up being cheaper for you to go through Chris, and you have a full service planner on your hands. If you are in need of something last minute, Chris is your guy to go to. I've seen him in action. He will tell you the truth sometimes as well. If you are looking for recommendations, he's not going to sugarcoat things and lie to you. Chris is the guy who's going to set you on the right path and set you up for success on your next Disney trip. So Chris, we appreciate you. I know all of our Tweedles who have used you in the past are simply in love with you.
Honestly, like I said, I love what I do. But it is true what you said. If you book a trip just through Disney directly, Disney announces new pricing and Disney announces new promotions all the time. And if a new promotion comes up for the period of your trip, they are not going to call you up and tell you that you could have saved $500. If, however, you have booked your trip through us, when those new promotions come out, not only do we find out before the rest of the public, but we can apply those new promotional sale prices to existing bookings. So there is literally no reason to wait. If you are thinking of any trip anytime in the next year and a half, it is a good idea. Just go to wishful-thinking.com. There's a big red button that you click on right on that homepage. And you can enter everything from specific travel dates to you can simply say, hey, we're thinking about maybe sometime next fall. And we can start the conversation and start talking about budgeting or start talking about what are the practical realities of it. Really, wherever you are in your planning process, it's a good idea to go and reach out and submit that form. It'll take you 2 minutes. And then you get my help for free. So yeah, I get to do the fun part and or the maybe not so fun part. And you just get to relax and look forward to your trip.
I love it. Again, that's wishful-thinking.com. Give it a look. There are some amazing photos. Even if you're not thinking of taking a trip, go look for the photos. They're absolutely incredible. Chris is also an amazing photographer in the parks. So thank you, Chris. Before we head out, one last question for you. Of all the hosts you've been on with Gays Do the D now, who's your favorite, Chris? Which one's your favorite host? Honest answers only.
Kale. In my experience, kale is both a little nutty, but also has kind of a nice chewy texture to it. I like to mix it in with
Okay, all right, bye.
Oh, no.
I like the fact that I can
Bye.
Oh, no. This is over.
Oh, boy.
I do love the new additions. Honestly, you guys, you have shown up. You're kind of like the example of the new additions to the cast where the show doesn't get canceled. You have broken the curse of Cousin Oliver.
That's a deep cut, my friend.
It was a deep cut. It was.
Oh, hello, gays.
Hello,
gay.
Hello, homosexual.
Oh, that was just as fun as it was disturbing. That was amazing. Fantastic. Well, we are here in hour 7 of our recording day, and we're about to do some quick D, everybody.
It's been 84 years.
Right. There hasn't been a podcast here in years.
We call this slow D. I personally, I like slow. I like it slow. I think there might need to be a chance for those of us who like it slow to have our moment to shine.
I'm more of a Goldilocks. I like it just in the
right.
middle, like a rhythmic D. You know, just keep.
Changing the rhythm.
I'm talking about comedy.
I like it like the first 5 seconds of Rock and Roller Coaster.
Wow.
I truly hope that one does get edited out.
Never.
Just a quick launch.
Just a quick launch.
Oh, that's disgusting. All right, let's move on to some quick D, everybody. As per usual, we have outsourced our questions because we can't be bothered to write our own anymore here. We're very busy. To Instagram, and we have a question from Magical Travels with Randy.
Oh,
We
love
to
Randy.
see it.
Yes.
Randy.
Of course. Randy asks, the castles have all been demolished in the parks.
Dark.
What is what is replacing them? What's replacing the castles in the parks? I'm already thinking maybe cute roller rinks. I don't know. That's what I want to see replacing them, because you could still have amazing light shows inside of them, right? Some nighttime spectaculars in a roller rink instead. Nope, no one agrees. Awesome. Moving on.
No, I have an idea. So there's 4 parks, right? 4 or 5?
Well, what are you talking about? Are you talking about around the world? Or are you talking
around the
about within
world.
Disney World, or
Yeah, because each park
yeah.
that has a castle, there's 5 of them, right? Or there's 4.
No, there's 6 castle
5
parks,
castles.
right?
Okay.
Oh,
Disneyland.
we should have a let's ask someone with a podcast that's all about Disney.
Right. We should find like a Disney expert, guys.
Disneyland,
should call one up.
Magic Kingdom, Disneyland
got a
Paris, Hong
travel
Kong,
planner.
Shanghai, Tokyo. 6.
6.
7.
Okay.
6.
Never mind. My idea doesn't work.
What was your idea?
Oh, why? What were we gonna say?
So my idea, I thought that there was 4, and so I was going to suggest, since Chris is in Brazil, the big statue of Jesus in Brazil, but we just replace it with each one of the cheetah girls in each park. That was my idea.
oh boy. Oh boy.
That went over my head.
But
and maybe it's because I don't know who the
That
cheetah
flopped,
girls
so
are.
never mind. Oh my God, Chris, get your life right. You don't know who the cheetah girls are? Oh God. Y'all
Disney
gotta
Channel
get
royalty.
educated. Okay.
Chris, they're sisters. They stand together. They make up one big family, though they don't look the same.
Is this a cartoon?
No, Chris.
Oh my gosh. I'm Chris.
They're
I'm
music
actually
moguls.
Okay.
Wait, I have an answer. I have an answer for this idea. You can cut this or keep this. But I've always admired the fact that Disney always constructs vertically. They are very good at making very tall things, but we've never seen Disney go inverse. What if instead they burrowed down into a deep, deep cavern? Perhaps it could be inspired like maybe Dante's Inferno, and you could slowly circle down through that could be where the villains are hiding, perhaps. You could spiral down into the depths of the swampland of Florida, or I don't know what's underneath
I can
Paris.
spiral
Probably
here
a
at
bunch
home.
of-
I don't.
Doesn't Paris have lots of catacombs with dead skeletons and things underneath the city? I think there's ideas of ways to explore the villain kingdoms that we've been waiting for.
I don't know about this. This sounds like, I don't know, hell.
Well, I mean, I will repeat that I can spiral on my own at home for free.
Right. I agree. Yeah. I'm not going any place with a skeleton because I might just they might hire me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been recording for so long. I'm already inverting into a deep cavern right now as well.
So I'll go next. So thank you, Randy, fellow Atlantan, for the question. I'm going to say we replace them with nothing because sometimes I think in a Disney park you just need a place to go catch your breath. An empty space with nothing around.
A central park, if you
Protect
will.
your peace.
A
Protect
central
your peace.
park, if you will.
All right. Okay. JT, do you have a suggestion? Because all of these are
well,
golden so far.
I do, actually. So what if you built other castles? Like, what if we built the Sultan's Palace from Aladdin? I don't know.
So you're replacing castles with castles?
Castles on castles.
Castles and castles.
Well,
Castles on castles.
technically, no, he's not. It is a palace.
Thank
JT,
you.
you are
Yes.
correct. Right.
And yes, and what if, and we'll replace the one at Disneyland Paris with Notre Dame Cathedral.
Work.
And
Because Paris needs 2.
we'll
Yes.
replace Tokyo with,
You got it. It's on the tip of your tongue.
yeah.
I can see it. I wish that everyone at home could see JT on Zoom right
It's on the
now.
tip of your
Just-
tongue. It's there, guys.
like-
It's coming.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And.
In
and.
Shanghai, we replace it with the palace from Mulan.
Right? Yes.
In
Work.
California, because New Orleans Square is there, we replace it with Commander's Palace, the restaurant
Yes.
from the French Quarter.
Yes.
Work.
Mhm.
And Hong Kong, we replace with, well, this was Singapore, but Michelle Yeoh's house from Crazy Rich Asians.
Ooh,
Wow,
yes.
now we're reaching, but okay.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe something from San Francisco in the
Oh.
Tokyo
Ooh,
Park.
yes.
There you go. Yeah, San Francisco, Tokyo. Yeah.
That weird college,
Okay.
maybe? Yeah.
There we go. Whatever exploded, which then that's the light show at the end. It just explodes at the end of every day.
Well, I
Amazing.
win.
All right. Well, I think you actually had an idea. You had an idea that is possible, as opposed to Cheetah Girl statues, roller rinks,
Skeleton
and
caves.
just inverting the ground. I think
Going to
or-
the Earth's core.
or just air. Yeah, Kale's idea of just air, I guess, was the most creative. Well, thanks, guys. This was a waste. Thank you, everybody. This was a real fun trip. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No one laugh. Absolutely don't laugh, because we should not laugh out of that. And then laugh. just end. We're ending on silence from now on.
Let's take a moment to reflect on where we've gone wrong tonight.
Yeah.
We went wrong on hit record, I think. Is where
Yep.
I don't know. I weirdly feel like I kind of did everything right.
That is weird. That will do it for this episode of Gays Do the D. Thanks for listening. To become a patron of the podcast, visit our website at gaysdothed.com/donate. For a donation of any amount, you can receive exclusive Gays Do the D content and help us continue to bring you the very best Disney news and discussion. Continue the conversation after this episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast. Submit your questions or show ideas to info@gaysdothed.com. Have a great week, everybody. See ya real soon.